My name is Baba Bob Shoile, and I'm a vice president at Goldman Sachs in the core engineering division. And today, my colleagues and I will be talking to you about how we at Goldman Sachs are able to build with purpose to drive innovation. First, you hear from one of our product managers, Shay, who will talk to you about a walking backwards process where we start with a press release for a product before any work is done on that product. And that way, we work backwards, so we always keep the client at the center of the process. Next, you hear from Emmanuel, one of our security architects, who will talk to us about how we develop a security strategy for a multi-cloud and poly-cloud environment. But first, before we begin, a quick show of hands. How many of us know what Goldman Sachs is or what we do? Oh, wow, thank you. That's great. You guys are doing better than I did in university. I didn't know that either. So quick one for those that don't know. Goldman Sachs is a bank, but we're not just any bank. We provide a range of financial services to our clients. One of those is sales and trading. For instance, if a client has some dollars, they want to buy some pounds, they might reach out to us to help us facilitate that trade. Or if they want to buy some stocks or sell some stocks, we might be able to help them out with that. We also do investment banking. So if we have, say, a company that's been private that's about to go public and wants to list on the stock exchange, we provide them with advice for that. Or if you have a company that's looking to raise some money to, say, develop a new product or something like that, then we help them raise capital from the market. Another thing we do is asset management. So say you have a fund like pension funds or like a university endowment fund, which has like a lot of money in a fund that they want to invest so that the funds don't lose value over time. Our asset management team manages those funds on their behalf so that we make investments in those funds and then the clients are able to get returns from those. Yeah, so I could go on, but I'll be here for ages. But I'm just glad that we have a platform like this today where, the community can learn about the exciting things that are being done out there at companies like Goldman Sachs. Such an event or platform wasn't really around back when I was a student, but I still feel like I ended up, where I'm meant to be, especially having a community like the Black Engineers Network within the firm, which I've been a part of since I joined as a graduate. It's a community of Black engineers and allies within the company that looks to promote diversity and inclusion. It needs to foster relationships between its members so we can build our networks in the company. We provide opportunities for career development through things like technical training sessions and mentorships for its members. And we provide opportunities to give back to the wider community through like volunteering efforts and things like that. But one of our main objectives is to attract the best Black engineering talent to the company. So you see a bunch of us here today wearing shirts like this. So feel free to come up to any of us to ask any questions about what we do and what we're working on, and we'll all be very excited to talk to you about because it's really interesting and challenging work that we do. And that's because, engineering is at the forefront of everything we do as an organization. From developing on chips to optimize our low latency trading to working on algorithms that help with that electronic trading. We also partner externally with big tech companies like Apple, for instance. We work with them on the Apple Card, and then we also work with some of the cloud providers to give them feedback that helps influence the direction of their products. And with about a third of our workforce is all engineers. So it's no surprise that we have a big engineering culture within the firm, where we focus on solving very interesting and challenging problems, and we try to solve those by building with purpose. And I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Shay, the product manager, who's going to give us an example of how we do that. Thank you.
Hey, hello, can you hear me? Hi everyone. My name is Shay, and I'm a product manager at Goldman Sachs. I build consistent user experiences for the firm by focusing on our internal customers and our external clients. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the product development process at Goldman. It's called the working backwards process. But before I start that, I want to take a step back and talk about our tenets. So tenets are our guiding principles. They're the ways that we make communication at Goldman, the way we talk about our projects, our people, and how we make decisions. And at Goldman, we have 9 tenets. The first one is build with purpose. But we also have other ones around being innovative, being data-driven, and promoting inclusivity. Okay. So what does it mean to build your purpose? It means thinking about who is going to use your product and why. It's being intentional about building reasons for people to use the product and being able to deliver clients, customer, and user value. So you want to always make sure that you're being intentional about who you're building for, thinking about the solutions that they're going to need now and in the future so that you can deliver creative and innovative solutions for them. And why is this important? Why is it important to build your purpose? If you think about going on a road trip and you have like no map, no direction, no sense of purpose, no like supplies, it might be adventurous for some people, not me, but adventurous for some people at first, but over time it becomes frustrating and it can lead to a futile journey. But on the flip side, building with purpose is like planning a road trip to a specific and breathtaking destination. You know where you're going, you're mapping out your routes, you're being very intentional about what you're building. And what does this look like in practice? So, like I said before, Goldman has adopted this working backwards process, but it was actually built by Amazon or created by Amazon and has been adopted by many organizations before. So how does it work? First, you imagine that your product has been built. You're ready to ship it. It's a successful product. Everyone's super happy with it. And your first step as a product development team is to create a press release announcing that the product is available. And the audience for this press release is your customer. At Goldman, we create press releases. Well, I think everyone really should create press releases thinking futuristically. So not just about what's available now or today, but what could be available in the future. And then next, you want to create a set of frequently asked questions about topics that your leadership, your stakeholders, your users/customers might want to know the answers to. And at Goldman, we do this thing where we have harsh FAQs, which are the rudest, toughest questions that your customers could ask you during this product development process. So what are the benefits of working backwards? I think in general, being able to write a press release and FAQ that's interesting and important is a good indicator of how well you know your customer, you know the problem that you're trying to solve, and you know the opportunities in the space. But more concretely, you have laser focus on the customer. You're shifting perspective from what is important to you and your team and your company to what's important to your customers, right? Like you're asking the question, so what? Like, why should my users care? The second is that you're getting your team aligned with what you're building. So you're not just building based off of a displaced, I guess, dictionary, but you're being very intentional about speaking the same language with your team. You're envisioning the vision, you're envisioning the solutions together, and you're building based on a shared vocabulary. And the final one is that you're getting feedback early and often. So your customers are not surprised about the products that you're putting to market, but they're actually waiting for something that they know that they can use and that they will love. So what does a press release look like? This is one from the ETF Accelerator product that was recently launched at Goldman. Just a disclaimer, this is not the one that we used when we were thinking about the working backwards process, but it's the final product that the media team has published. But it's a good indicator of what a press release should look like. It has things around your title, your subtitle, your potential launch dates, which again is very futuristic. It shows what you're building, the problems that you're trying to solve, the negative impacts of the problems, and how you're addressing these problems elegantly with your solution. It also has leadership quotes, so someone who's very inspirational in your company is giving a tidbit of what you're building and why. But you can also have customer quotes where they're talking about the positive impact that the products will have when it's available. You also have a section describing how the products will work, and very importantly, where is the first place that your customer should go to if they want to get started. Now we move on to the FAQs, so frequently asked questions. These are the foundations of product discovery. You have 5 questions. Who is the customer? What's the problem or opportunity in the space? What's the most important customer benefit? How do you know that this is what the customer wants or needs? This usually happens through surveys, through focus groups, through user interviews. And then what does the customer experience look like? And just as a note, your press release and your FAQ influence each other. They impact each other, right? So you might discover that the problem that you thought that you wanted to solve initially isn't the one that you're solving anymore, and that influences your press release. And where do you go from here? So creating a press release and an FAQ is just the first step, but you have to think about what happens afterwards, and that is building compelling arguments for your products to exist by speaking with your stakeholders and your team members. And then afterwards, if you do think the product should exist, working with your product team, so your engineers, product managers, designers, researchers, to then bring this product to life. So I hope I've been able to help you get a sense of what it's like to develop products at Goldman. You can use this when you're thinking about your school projects, your work projects, your personal projects. And I can answer any questions, but before I do, I want to have my colleague, Emmanuel, come on stage to talk to us about how to build a multi or poly cloud security strategy. Thanks.
Thanks, Shay. How's everyone doing today? Great. OK, so I'm Emmanuel Downsey. I'm a security architect at Goldman Sachs. And today I'll be talking about an enterprise strategy, enterprise multi-poly cloud strategy. And just to take a step back and to give context, why this is super important is I've been going around and I'm talking to CISOs and CIOs. And one of their biggest challenges is how do I use multi-poly cloud in a very secure manner? So raise of hands, how many of you know about cloud computing? OK, quite a lot. That's good. So it's a technical crowd. That's awesome. So like I said, the main challenge for most people at the top level is how do I use cloud and how do I do it securely? So basically, by the end of this session, you should have a brief idea, high-level idea on how to use cloud securely. Oops. OK, so first of all, before I go, what is multi-cloud and what is polycloud? So first of all, multi-cloud is using cloud in a cloud-agnostic manner. So basically, in cloud, you have IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. So things like your compute engine, your compute infrastructure, your storage. So I know a lot of you have Google Drives and stuff. So that's storage in the cloud, basically. So what you do is you use all cloud providers like AWS, Google, Azure. And if you remember, Bob mentioned about here in Goldman Sachs, we partner with a lot of these cloud providers. So basically, you're using them in a cloud-agnostic manner. So you're just using their basic infrastructure. You're not using any of their specialized infrastructure. Because all of the cloud providers have differentiating factors. So in this way, in this strategy, you're just using them in a cloud-agnostic manner. So what is the advantages of multi-cloud rather? First of all, it gives you cost and financial leverage. So when I mean cost and financial leverage in the sense that you across all the 3 cloud providers, you are getting cheap benefits, you're getting discounts based on the fact that you're just using their basic services and not any of their specialized services. Also, it provides resiliency and disaster recovery. So recently, the UK government has talked about the problem of vendor lock-in. And basically, the problem is each of the cloud providers, if there was any downtime, how do you actually actively recover from a downtime? And that's where it gives you resiliency benefits. So the next thing is improved geo support. So a lot of the cloud providers have different zones in the world. So Europe, America, Africa, and so forth. I said Africa, so And a lot of people looked at me. So it's South Africa and some other like major zones. So basically, if your application was to have a downtime, and that's what drives a lot of businesses, you can basically like fail over to any of the other environments. So that's some of the benefits of multi-cloud. So moving on, obviously there'll be challenges as well, as with everything. So one of the challenges is how do you effectively and consistently implement security controls? So if I deploy an application in my environment, how do I do it securely across the three environments? I don't know if there are any security folks here. Anyone interested in security? Okay, like Bob said, we have a Goldman Sachs stand there. So if you want to get more into security, please hit us up. The next thing is limited technical skill set. And this is where we are looking for like black tech. There are not a lot of people that know about like cloud or even cloud security. So it's a very small space. The next thing is also it's limited to few services. You're just using basic services. You're not using like the specialized services of cloud in cloud basically. And the next thing is diverse security solutions. Just because the three cloud providers have like different environments and the way they build their platforms is slightly different. So implementing security across all the three platforms kind of like gives you a lot of challenges as well. So the next thing is polycloud. So polycloud is slightly different. I know people in the industry like to tag polycloud as similar to multi-cloud, but it's slightly different. So in polycloud, you're using different cloud providers, but you're using them based on your business use case. So for instance, if I want to deploy something like Kubernetes, Kubernetes was developed by Google before they open sourced it. So if you want to use something like Google, since they developed it, they have first mover advantage. So their GKE platform is quite mature. So you can say like, if my business is thinking of using Kubernetes, I can use Google Cloud. But something like maybe Microsoft 365 apps, Microsoft is kind of like the leader in IAM, Active Directory, and Office productivity tools. So you may want, as a business, you may decide like, okay, Microsoft gives me that benefit, so I'll use Azure. So what are the advantages? Obviously, specialization. So I mentioned you can look at each cloud provider, whether it's AWS, it's Google, or it's Azure, and then use their specialized service for whatever business use case. So you're starting as a business and thinking about what is the end goal of my business, and this is why we, like Shay mentioned, this is how you build with purpose. You think about your business and say like, what's the end goal of my business and what is the differentiating factor for my business? And then you can build your application based on that. Also, it reduces concentration risks and it provides you a large feature set. So you can look at each of the cloud providers and say, okay, there are different like tools. Unlike multi-cloud where you're just using the basic services, in polycloud, you're using all of the specialized services. So it gives you like a lot of benefits. So obviously, like I mentioned before, what are some of the gaps here? First of all, the skill set. So like I said, we're looking for black engineering talent. So please, this is a space that it's quite, there's a big gap here. So if you're looking into this space, I strongly recommend. And obviously, data bandwidth. So because you've been moving traffic, ingress, that's traffic going into each of the cloud providers. So obviously, that gives you a lot of cost. So that's a huge challenge for organizations as well. Also, increased complexity because you want to build the applications across the three cloud providers. So that from a strategy perspective and from a security architecture perspective, that provides a lot of nuances, and there'll be a lot of caveats to it. So you have to sit down and let everyone on the team, and that's the whole thing about building with purpose, thinking about like the long-term effects. So you want to have a tactical solution. You also want to have a strategic solution as well. Then obviously, like implementing consistent security controls across the polycloud and polycloud environment as well. Okay, so I won't be going into much details into this. I can spend 2 hours. Like I've been in several conferences, and just this topic alone can take about an hour. So I'm just going to leave time for some questions. So anyone in the crowd has some questions? It could be for me, it could be for Shay, it could be for Babar. Please go ahead.
Hi guys, can you tell us a little bit about your backgrounds in the jobs that you did before or your educational background and how you got into the roles that you're doing now?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question. Baba, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start first. I studied electrical engineering at university, so I didn't know a thing about software or programming. I got into Goldman Sachs through a spring internship, which is kind of like 2 weeks. In your second year or first year, you come in to learn about the role. I got in through that, so I had the experience. I enjoyed it. They gave me a return offer for a summer internship. I came back for that and joined as a grad, and I've been there 6 years now.
I can go next. So I joined Goldman as an intern in 2018, and my story is a bit different because I got recruited through the African Caribbean Recruiting Initiative, where Goldman goes to Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and now some other Caribbean countries to go recruit. So sort of joined through that program. Came back as a full-time hire in 2019 as a software engineer, did a bunch of products within my wider team, and then transitioned to product management. So I just want to highlight the internal mobility opportunities that you do have while you join Goldman, where your career can start out somewhat differently than how you progress as your interests get, peaked.
Okay, I can go. Mine is slightly different. So actually, I started as a medical doctor. I mean, a lot of you are here, so you come from African families, and you're either like a doctor or you're an engineer or a lawyer. You choose one path. So I was supposed to be the doctor in the house, but I decided to change my careers. And I think there are a lot of non-technical people here, so don't be afraid of tech, because I think that's the scare of most people. So I switched. I switched into cybersecurity. Obviously, I worked in JP Morgan before Goldman Sachs pitched me from there. So if there are any JP Morgan people here, so so that's it. So from medical, cybersecurity, JP, and then Goldman Sachs.
This one.
We go on. Thank you.
Hello. I was wondering, what is the recruitment process for Goldman Sachs for engineers?
Barbara, you want to take the question?
Yeah, I can take this. So it depends if you're talking about a campus or coming in as a lateral. So if you're a student, we offer internships, which you can apply to, which I think are open right now. We actually have an event next week for those that are interested in internships. Come talk to us. We'll tell you more about that. That gives more information about that. As a lateral hire, you can apply through to jobs on our board, on our website, and then we'll take you through the process. But we also have other avenues to enter the company. We offer bootcamp programs for those that are looking to change careers, for instance. So we partner with external organizations to run a cohort of bootcampers where they train them, teach them how to do software development, and after that they get an off-cycle internship with us. And if they're successful, they join us full-time as well. Thank you.
Hi. So you mentioned that you transitioned from the medical industry to the cybersecurity industry. My question is, how did you do it, and what do you recommend in order to make that transition smooth? Because personally, I have a background in project management and finance, and I'm trying to break into the tech sector, so any advice would be really appreciated.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So my advice would be, start from the end in mind. So look at the different areas in tech. There are a lot of areas, and tech is quite broad. Obviously, find a mentor as well, someone that can set you up and guide you on how to get into tech. And obviously, you're going to need to put in crazy amounts of hours, because you're kind of catching up. So when I was transitioning, I was spending about 15 to 16 hours a day just studying. So there's a lot of work. You have a lot of work to do, but I'll say start with the end in mind. Look at the various sectors. So you can look at security, software development. There are also non-technical roles as well. You can transfer some of your skill set from your previous roles and add it to into tech roles as well. So don't neglect all of the experience, and because that's what a lot of people are like, oh, I have zero experience in tech. You have certain skill set, you can switch over to tech. Just look for the area that fits into what you're looking for, because obviously you don't also want to be walking into something you're not interested in, basically. You get where I'm coming from? So that would be my advice.
I think we're at time now, but thank you very much. You see a lot of us around here today wearing the T-shirts, or some of us not. But yeah, feel free to come up to us, ask us any questions. We'll be more than happy to answer anything about us. Our booth is just there. So yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.